Nope, that is. If I take this plumb bob and I put it, oh, they even put it, look at that. Turn and show them this. She's got little black dots that show us where the center of her, I did not plan this, where the center of her knee is. So I'm going to take,
what does that say about you?
In my boots, not perfect.
so if you take the plumb bob and you look in the mirror and you put the string right on the center of your kneecap, which is called the patella. It's a moving bone that's connected by musculature and ligaments that are around the knee joint and protect it. You let it hang down. Most people, and I bet you you're one of them, the plumb bob is going to hang somewhere around the middle of the foot to the outside of the foot if you're not properly aligned, because most of us are not. But where it should fall is right between your big toe and around your second toe. So you can find out where your own alignment is by doing this at home in the mirror, and then from there, you can go to a boot fitter if you want to and get boots and cants and stuff, but you can do some exercises on your own to help you be in better alignment. So one of the first exercises, this one, everybody can do this. So stand up again, and I want you to figure out where some muscles are. Rochelle, you'll be able to see her. What you're going to do is, in every single sport, there is a natural athletic stance. So we're in a gravity sport. The natural athletic stance is a little bit of flexion in your knees. Your feet are shoulder width apart, not too wide. It's a comfortable stance. And the flexion in your knee, a little flexion in your ankle, and then your hands are in this position like you're ready to do anything. Shoot a basket, hold poles, play tennis, play golf. This is the natural athletic position. The weight from your aligning your skeleton, your foot is flattened. Now what happens when we start moving or sliding on the snow is we forget about this position because fear and our eyeballs take us in different directions. Students, if you've been skiing a long time, you should know that you probably in the beginning of the season have wicked, what's this muscle right here? Quadricep burn. Why that happens to skiers? Because fear and repetition causes you to go backwards so that the weight is on your heels. So try that right now. I want you to just roll back on your heels. Do you feel your quadriceps tighten up in the front? Right around your knee. It starts right here, and then it tightens. If you spend even 4 runs skiing like this, you're going to have really big quads at the end of the season, and you're going to look terrible in a dress or tight-fitting pants because this muscle is going to get bigger than the rest of the muscles. Now do just the opposite and go too far forward onto your toes. Keep your foot flat on the ground. What do you feel tighten up there? Your calves, your soleus, your gastrocnemius. That's this muscle here. One of the most common injuries is because this is too tight, especially in men. This is where people have ankle injuries. The heel, the Achilles tendon gets pulled too tight. So it's important that you do exercises to stretch those out and to stretch quadriceps. Good stretching exercise for quadriceps, if you're balanced. I know you probably, if you do other sports, you do this exercise. I want you to balance. But the thing that I see people do wrong is that their knee comes out here. You keep yourself in alignment. Put your hand on your ankle and just pull gently until you feel that stretch. You should feel it in your hip flexor. You should feel it down around the knee. And it's a gentle. It's also a great exercise for learning to balance because this is a balancing sport. Okay, so your knee always faces down. If you can't reach it, that's okay. Touch something and get as far as you can. But keep your knee in alignment in the same natural athletic, just like Rochelle's doing. So you stretch both, and that's a good stretching. All right, take a seat for a second. a really, really big part in skiing, and a lot of times our hips are the nemesis for what causes us not to be great skiers. So in order to find a neutral position for your hips, because once you're on skis and you start moving, a lot of times, turn sideways for a second, I'm going to ask Rochelle to pretend that she's a dog for a second and wag her tail. So this is exactly, that is.
Get that on video?
Turn around and do it,
So when a dog pushes their tailbone out, it's an extension this way. You can't ski like that. A lot of people do. And to counteract, they do this. You have to. So this is a position that we see a lot of our skiers, our students in. Their hips are way back. If their hips are back, they have to counterbalance by flexing the knees. So they're low. So now the opposite is pretending that you're a dog that's scared, and now you're tucking your tail between your legs. Now your hips are really far forward. You feel a little pressure right here. Keep it clean.
This shit is like peeing off the foot.
Exactly. Snowboarders want to get here and here. They have to do this motion. Yeah. So this position is also it's a counter position that would not allow flexion in the knees. You need flexion in the knees. It's really much harder to bend your knees and your ankles if your hips are too far forward. You want to be in a neutral position. So now what you can do to practice at home is go between these two positions, and again, we're keeping this clean, finding that place in between where you're neutral, and then everything else will be slightly flexed, and that's where you should be skiing from. Your foot flattens out when you're in hip neutrality, and you should have all the weight on the whole of your foot. And then as you start moving, your body goes a little bit forward, not your joints, but your body goes forward just this much. I don't know if you can see that. Gravity's going to pull you here. So now the weight is on the balls of my feet, but I'm still in a neutral position and an athletic position. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. It's the same in every sport. This is where you want to be for every sport if you want to be good at it. It's harder when gravity is pulling you down the hill and you are going, whoa, I don't want to go that fast, because it pulls you out of neutral position. So those are some exercises you can do to get there. So, and they're all spelled out for you in this little paper that I created. Okay. I think we all did the weight distribution. Strength and power, the quads. So these are some exercises that you can do at home to get you ready, and this is the perfect time. We have 2 months before you're actually on snow. You really need to start working on getting yourself in shape. For some reason, September rolls around and I say, oh, got to get back to the gym. And I got to, all the fun things I'm doing through the summer are good. And cross training is wonderful. But when you're coming into skiing, you need to work on some skiing-specific exercises that help you get your body ready. So, lunging. Can you do a good lunge? Do you know how to do a good lunge? I'm going to have her do a lunge. This is a great activity. So, the thing that you want to make sure in a lunge is that your heel is up in the back, and your ideal goal to make this help you balance do it, you need to find, like, I'm going to look right down the road here, right, looking right at you, and I'm going to make sure my body and my back is straight. See how straight her back is? Her head is aligned, and the idea is that your knee is going to touch the ground. So you're just going to go down and come back up. If you want to, you can switch. You don't want to do that on the table. And then do 30 repetitions of these. This is a really good strengthening exercise. Do as many as you can. Tim, do 5. Come on, 5. Excellent. It also helps stretch out your soleus. It's a great exercise for strength. 2 things as you get better at this. Here you go, muscle curl. Now you do it with weights in your hand. Make sure you're even. If you're going to use one weight, make sure it's even, not one-sided. It'll throw you off balance. Now you do these exercises going down and up using,
Helmet.
Hold them up here, do it when you work with more too.
Yep, exactly. You can do them up high. There's a lot of things you can do for, so eccentric and concentric exercises. Eccentric is essentially just resistance. So when she does that lunge with weights, coming back slowly is resisting the weight, and that helps build up the strength even more than the going down. So do it again one more time, and then come up really slowly and feel where the muscles, so the slower you go coming up is the resisting. And then switch and do 30 on each side if you can. I keep weights in my bedroom. I do all this when I'm watching TV, when LJ's on the computer or something. I go in the bedroom and I do all my exercise work. All right, next. You can do things on steps if you have a step at home, but you start with a shallow step. It's all in there written. You can talk about it or read about it and try these at home. Or you can even look up on YouTube. There's all kinds of exercises that you can look at that are ski specific that I mentioned here. Next, you're going to lay down. Show us your playgirl pose. On your side. And we're going to do the clam exercise because this is the hip. So your ankles and feet are going to be touching, and you're going to come apart while you keep your body in the exact same position. If she were standing up, she's in this neutral ready position. But now she's going to work on those interior muscles, which are really important for the rotary skill. So you do 30 exercises like this, keeping your feet. It's a lot harder than you think. It looks like, oh, she's just laying down and just doing a little exercise, lifting her knee up, but it's harder than you think. Do it on each side. Do that a couple times a week, 30 times one night. It's an amazing exercise that can help you. Then you can add weight and hold a weight in your hand here if you want to, a can of kidney beans, whatever you got at home. Do the same exercise with a little resistance. That's a great exercise. For bumps, come on up. I'm not gonna have her demonstrate this, but jumping, if you have any injury, if you're prone to injury in your joints, ankles, knees, you don't want to do these because it's a strength and it's a lateral movement. But jumping side to side is a fantastic exercise. Try to land neutral. Don't you do it? No, don't do it up there. But as you're skiing, you want to move laterally, keeping your body in neutral, and see if you can jump. And it's an aerobic exercise as well. But it really helps a lot with bump skiing or making quick movements and still recovering into the natural position.
If you want a challenge, put a noodle right there. It's only 2
Over
inches high. You jump over the noodle and you'll trip on the third time.
Fantastic.
It's higher than experience.
All right. The big buzzword we use, proprioception. It's basically knowing where you are in space. And one of the greatest tips that I've ever given instructors when they're teaching a lesson is, Frank, stand up for a second. You're my student and you're a little out of balance, so I'm skiing alongside you on the beginning hill. I don't have to grab him. If I touch him and I put hands on him, it's going to pull him out of balance. But the best thing you can do to make him feel comfortable in space, give him the finger. I put my finger, and it has to be in this place. Where his center of mass is, it's a little higher for a man, so it would be between his scapulas. I take one finger, so close your eyes for a minute and pretend you're skiing. And you're sort of out of balance. And I put my finger right in the center of his back, and now he knows where he is in space intuitively inside. He can feel intrinsically grounding and comfort that makes you know where you are in space. one finger and you can do that in line when kids are walking, for anyone. Just one finger in the center of the back is so much better than touching and hands-on. So for you to practice getting in balance, I want all of it, and I want to report back on this. You're going to practice brushing your teeth every time you brush your teeth in the morning, at noon, at night, and I want you to start by balancing on one foot and brush your teeth for 2 minutes, and can you balance on one foot the whole time you brush your teeth? Okay? As you get good at it, both sides, practice both sides. As you get good at it, now you're going to brush your teeth with your eyes closed. Whoa, that's a lot harder. So it's really, whoops, yeah, missed. So that's a great proprioception balancing activity for you to do. Everybody stand up and see how good your balance is. One of the tests that we did, find a space if you want to. What I like to do for balancing is, without touching anything, I use my arms for counterbalance. Can I go from this position to different positions and recover and stay in this position in neutral without touching down? If you can't do it at first, do this exercise and come back to neutral and touch your toe down. Stretch out, come back and touch your toe down. And do it on both sides. A trick to this is, well, you always want a little flexion. A trick is, find a focus point, like I'm looking at Shonda on the back wall. If I look and I don't take my eyes off of that spot, or a spot on the floor, now your whole balancing position is focused here. You can become much more balanced when you're totally focused on a spot. And it helps keep your spine straight. Can you do a dip with your hand out? Flex and come down and up. Not easy. So you guys think you're great skiers, but you can't balance on one foot. Think about how much better you'll get if you do these exercises before the ski season starts. Here's the sad thing. As we age, and there's a lot of us that are older and much more wise than other folks in the room, this starts to diminish for us. It's because inside your ear, balance comes from your inner ear. You guys can sit. Balance comes from your inner ear. I picked Rochelle because she's just such a show-off. But if you want a tether, it's all about balance. Balance comes from inside your ear, and as you age, there's like these little hair-like things that are in there that we can't see. They're really tiny, and they're called cilia. And they start to fall out and go away. And they help cilia. They're like little hairs, not the ear hairs, no, those you can trim. These are way inside. And the older you get, the more it starts to go away. So your balance begins to get compromised the older you get. The good news is that you can continue to practice and become better balanced. I'm turning 60 this year, and my balance is better than it's ever been when I was younger. Because I work on it really, really hard. I really focus on balancing. And I had a knee replacement, and I think I'm balanced equally now on my left as I am to my right. So these are all little things that you can do to make it easier. Next up, as we're talking about, you can't do this one.
Whoa.
At the gym, she's really good.
Okay.
All right, well, all of those, so I'm going to keep a finger, I can't reach your back, so it's going to have to be on her butt. So all of these exercises, if you belong to a gym, or if you have enough money that you can buy one of these, and you can find them all, it's called a Bosu Ball. It helps in balancing, and you can do all of these exercises and add weight. And you can also eat Doritos at the same time. And work on your balance. And can you do one foot? I got this in the middle of it. Okay. It's not easy. I got yourself. extra soft. All right, this is really, really a great exercise to do. You can see Rochelle is good.
We're gonna lose our master tether.
Yeah.
Lose the tether.
All right, good enough. Good enough. We got the picture. This is another thing that I'm going to keep at the ski area at Jiminy that I took from my phys ed days. And it's also great to put a little kid on here, and can they balance with their feet, they're pressuring their, I'll do it here, pressuring their outside of their foot against the ball, and that helps them put pressure outside, and then they try and find balance, and you can have them do all these exercises. When they're really good at it, you can have them not use the ball and see if they can keep the same balance and neutral position, and you direct them to do different movements. But we'll have this at the ski area, and you know, kids, when you're doing your assessment, it's a great little tool to have in the room just to pull out and say, let's see how good you are. This is what it's going to feel like. It's going to feel like under your feet, all these movements. Okay? So, when I watch TV, you can come down. Can't do it up there. When I watch TV, anywhere in other people's houses, I'm almost always sitting on the floor instead of in a chair. Because after skiing, after doing anything at the end of the day, I prefer to be on the floor because I can stretch. So I'm stretching all the time. I'm pretty flexible for my age, but the things that are important for you to do is to make sure that your inner thighs, your hamstrings, and your hamstrings are the second largest muscle back here, and your gluteus maximus, or your glutes, or your rear end. And then these are also a very large group of muscles. But your hamstring is one that often gets injured and gets really tight, especially for men. So the best way is the exercises with weights, or just simply locking your knees or having a very tiny bit of flexion in them, but keeping them straight, coming down as far as you can, and see if you can stretch and put your hands down. Some of us, especially for men, these muscles are much more tight than women. And women spend a whole lot more time doing flexibility exercises where men do strength exercises. That's just part of the gender. So flexibility is important to prevent injury. Injuries happen because you didn't stretch it. So a lot of these exercises you can do actually before you ski, and go out and do a warm-up and then stretch. So take your poles and move them over your head, push one ski out and back. Chris?
Also, like for your tendons and ligaments, when you're like stretching them out, you can also do it slowly too, because it's kind of a rope bending. You stretch it out, you don't do it slow, if you want to know that.
Very true. You don't want to do anything cold, and you don't want to do anything fast. It's slow. Once you get really good at stretching, add weight to it. So this is a good strength and flexibility exercise where you're doing a deadlift. And if you're using a lot of weight, come back up to beyond neutral, so your hips come forward. Slowly down and slow up for the resistance, letting the weight do the work. There's a diagram there of how to do that exercise with the weights. And you can do this, I mean, this is only 20 pounds. Men will probably want to use a curling bar and put on 50 to 100 pounds, whatever you can handle. Some men do a lot. So it's a really good strength building exercise. So for your hips, again, one of the areas, hip flexors, you might be able to do this one up here and show them how to do that. The one right there, the diagram. This is for rotation of the hips. So what you're going to do is she's going to cross your ankle onto your knee, reach through your legs, and pull your knee to your body so it's stretching the hip flexors. So if you can't reach all the way here, you can reach this far. If you can't reach that far at all, now put your head back and do it. So you're laying flat on the ground, head down on the ground. Once you got it. Cross your leg, ankle on your knee, and then pull up. And now you'll feel that pull in your hip flexors right here, which is something that you use for skiing. And then of course you do this on both sides. But if you can just get engaged in a television show when you're watching the news or whatever you do, and you just lay on the floor and do some of these, you'll be amazed at how much your body will feel better afterwards. Thank you. That's also a yoga pose. Chris, martial arts crescent kick. Can you show us one? Yeah. Inside out crescent kick. Around. Slowly, just show them what it looks like. Great for hip flexor. Do it again, and then you do the other side. Inside out and do it. And then outside in. He's our martial arts expert. Thank you. That's a great one to work on. For your back, really important to do lower and also your hips. So if you're in a position on the floor like a cat, or you can do it up here so people can see you better. So first she's going to tuck her tuck her chin in and arch her back as far as she can upward. Yep. And then you do counter to that. You're going to come back and you're going to put push your back down and look up. Look up so it's for lower back. Lift your eyes up to put your head as high as you can upward. Okay, that's for this part of the curve. So the spine has all of these moving joints and all these little tiny intricate muscles around it. You need to stretch them out. This, again, the lower back is one of the most prominent things that gets injured, especially if you're lifting. And if you are working with sit equipment, that is one of the things that we do, is we lift weight. So if you don't know how to lift properly and you're not warmed up and you don't have a strong back, chances are that you can get an injury by not doing it properly. So it's important to make sure that those muscles are stretched and strong. The curtsy. Everybody knows what a curtsy is, right? Well, I bet you young people don't know what it is, unless they watch the waltzes or. So the curtsy is basically doing this as low as you can get. And it's another movement that's causing this internal hip. This is everything inside your hips are twisting, and it helps stretch. Abduction and adduction are two terms used for exercises. Ab means away from the body, and ad means to the body. So when you take your joints or your limbs, anything that's going away is ab, and then ad is coming back in. So you've got leg lifts are really great for balance and for stretching and strength building. And you can do those laying down, doing those kinds of things. Hip circles are great. These are all hip exercises. Do little tiny circles, 30 one direction, 30 the other. That's like the hula dancer. This is a movement that we use in skiing and in snowboarding, right? Snowboarding, you use a lot of hip movements. Those are good exercises for hips. Okay, balancing. Oh, we talked a lot about the balance ones at Bosu. And the triangle pose is a fantastic balance and stretching. Put your feet as wide as you can, and now you're going to slide your hand down and look up to the ceiling and see if you can hold that position. And I feel that all up and down my back, my shoulders, and my legs. You do both directions. There's a picture of it there. Okay. The glutes and the triceps, the saggy butt in old people, and bingo arm. You know what bingo arm is? All those old folks that are playing bingo and they don't exercise and bingo, and the arm goes, oh. That's bingo.
Chicken on a Harley.
Yeah, that's extra.
That
That's
just takes
because
away from Harley.
we don't use our triceps or our glutes as much as we do every other body. And as you age, you start to protect your core, and the things away from you are not being used as much, especially the triceps, unless you're starting a lawnmower a lot, or picking up luggage, or swimming, true. But the triceps, so in order to keep that strong and not get bingo arm, yeah. And this is the easiest one for you to do, is take a weight, put it right in the center of your back with your elbows alongside your head, and simply lift it up. And let me tell you, 30 of these, really, really hard. Easier without equipment is the chair. You see in this picture up here. Start by sitting on the edge of your chair and put your hands on the seat. Slide your glutes off the seat so that you're comfortable balancing yourself like this. Take your flexion in your elbow, lower your butt to the ground, and then push back up again. Can you do 30 repetitions like this? Make it harder. Feet out here. Down, back up 30 times. Oops, chair moves. So that will help strengthen this muscle here, which is also a strength for lifting. You need strong triceps. And then the opposing is the biceps, which is this bigger muscle in the front, which is the one that most men do. Yeah. So
Guns.
the guns, yeah, I got big guns. Or pull-ups.
It's proportionate to their brain size. Bigger here, smaller there. Lift things up, I put them down.
Let's see what else we got here.
That was Jordan.
Yes.
One of the most common injuries in snowboarding is the ankle. Did you know there are 100 muscles in your feet? Little tiny muscles. So things to do to strengthen the foot, or anything that you can do that's causing flexion and strength, is just simple heel raises. Heel raises and toe raises. Can you get up on your heels and balance? But a really good one is in the squat thrust position. Turn your feet out as far as you can get them, and then just lift your heels on the inside. Heels up on your toes and back down. This is a great exercise for your soleus, your gastrocs, and strengthening your feet and your ankles. And when I stretch ankles, people forget to stretch your ankles when you're doing stretching. Just this. Take your ankle. You probably have to do this sometimes. Roll your foot so that it stretches the outside, and then do the inside so it stretches the inside. Your Achilles heel. Mine is so flexible that for me to get a good stretch, I have to put my foot against something like that and lean into it. So, and that feels really good to stretch that. It's really, really a great stretch. But try
Stand on a step and touch it.
against the stair. Good point, up against the stair. Mindy, you probably have a bunch of these too, right?
Yeah, I had that Achilles injury.
Yeah.
I stand on the stair and just
Yeah,
let
stand on the
the
step and just
Roll.
let your heels push in.
Roll your ankle, both directions. Do all those things. You can do this when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, when you're getting ready. If you're just conscious about taking care of your body before the season and getting it ready. Mark, you had a bunch of exercises that PT gave you for ankles, right? And yeah, it's a really, really important.
Like the alphabet with your.
And that was what physical therapy does. Did you ever have to take your toe and you have to draw the alphabet? A, B.
Please, the library will be closing in 30 minutes. Please do your time accordingly.
Thank you, we will. Okay, so that's, then the last one, you can see the picture of for your lower back, laying prone on the floor and doing the Superman fly. So it stretches your lower back really, really. You want to do it up here? Superman? Superman. So stretch out like you're going to, no, lay down.
Kick the spine.
Arms straight out like this. And then you're going to lift your feet up and lift your arms up off the ground as long as you can, and then let it relax, and then do it again. She's strengthening her back by doing this.
And if
Great.
you roll over on the floor and then do both, then you get
to get everything.
Your lats and all those, yeah.
Yeah, and you do both, or put your hands up. But then you hold it for, 15, 20 seconds, and then you
That's your
roll,
core
and
and
you
wraps.
do it on this side, and then Superman, and on the side, and then
Yeah.
on your back.
Thank you, Rochelle, for being our model. Take this out when you get home, because you were sitting for a long time, and I want you to do every single one of them for homework tonight.
Oh my gosh, some of us have to go to bed. So we can go to
So, here's my clicker. Safety. Every time you come to a training session of any kind, sign in. You are going to sign in for attendance. You're going to sign in and if there's no sign-in sheet, please ask for it, because that means somebody forgot to put it out. We're going to try and get them out all the time, just like me. I forgot to put one out here tonight, so we had to make one. As long as you write your name and sign, and we write on the top what you trained for, it gives you more training hours and credibility for our organization to keep us safe and keep everyone safe. Waivers, they protect you. And again, if that waiver was signed and it's within the year period, then the insurance will protect you. Incident reporting is kind of standard procedure of when something happens on the mountain. Let's say you observe an accident. And you were the second, you watched the student fall, the student fell against a fence post or something like that. Whether there's a serious injury or even a minor injury, we have to report it and document what happened. A minor injury later could turn out to be something that's major that we didn't know about. A lot of our students are not able to verbalize and may not even experience pain the same way we do. So they fall down, and we've had students that have broken bones and continued through the entire lesson because they don't feel pain the same way. They get home and find out it's all swollen, the shoulder's broken, whatever. We have to report it. If you think something's occurred and they continue and you don't know there's something, there's nothing to report. But if they fall and it's a serious fall and they hurt something and then they get back on their feet and keep going, it's still probably a good idea to talk it over with your supervisor and see if it's something you need to write something up for, and make sure the family knows. There's forms that we have both for Stride and for the mountain that have to be filled out if an incident happens. The equipment only works if it's in great shape. If you take it out and the last person forgot to say, oops, the ski derailed, the edge, the binding broke, and they just put it back on the shelf and you're ready to take your lesson out, you pull it out, you get out on the hill and find out it's broken, you're going to be pissed, yeah. Because the person before you didn't write a report and take it out of operation. We have little tags, you have to mark it, put broken, what broke, whatever happened, put it out on the bench or where we all have these sheds where our equipment is. Make sure you report that something is broken. Even the smallest thing is a safety issue. So a pin missing, a spring broken, a shock deflated, whatever. We have to make sure that it's reported. And then LJ will take care of it, right?
Thanks, LJ.
The tethered equipment protocol we'll get into because we're going to do a lot of tethering this year. You're all going to learn to tether because tethering is holding reins in your hand, tether lines, and tethering some of our students. Even when they're stand-up. You saw that Andy, when he was learning to snowboard, at some times had this waist harness and had a tether line, and LJ could get away from him a little bit and let it go and loose, and he could do independent movements, but he always had a handle on him. There's certain protocols when you use that, which means that you are the anchor. If you take one out of the box and you use a tether of any sort with any student, you must make sure that you are the anchor so that tether is secured to you on your skin. So it has a loop on the end, and it goes on your hand, around your wrist. I don't know if I have one here. There's one here. Anyway, there's a loop. It goes on your skin and tightens. You put your glove back on, and then you can shorten the tethers by wrapping it or whatever you need to do from there. But you're an anchor. If you don't do that protocol and you're using tethers and oops, and your student can't ski and they're down the hill without you, you're at fault for their injury or their fall. So there's protocol, but we will go through that very, very clearly in all of our clinics that is using any type of equipment that uses tethers. Helmets are mandatory. I told that, no exception. Oh, it says exceptions. I think
There's
no is
always
behind
an
the,
exception.
it's behind the photo, the no exceptions. Everyone has to have a helmet. We talked about the benefits already, and I handed out that sheet for you. That's a great, it's called Info for the First Year Stride Instructor. That gives you a lot of information of all the things to expect, but the benefits and the rewards of just being part of this group are probably the best thing that you're going to get out of this whole experience. It's just really a really cool experience, and you're going to feel so good about what you're doing with this organization and teaching students that have challenges. You're going to learn more. Sometimes I think that our volunteers get more out of the program than the students. And I want to take one quick second to introduce one of our new instructors back here, Joe, who is Mike's son. Stand up for a second. Joe, when he was a little boy and much, much shorter, was one of our students. Take note of this, Andy. He learned to ski through us. Joe has a mild form of cerebral palsy, and he is a phenomenal skier and is independent, lives in an apartment, has a job, is doing wonderful, and he's coming back as an instructor this year. You have a manual that was handed out to you, and I told you about the online training. That's the address at the bottom. You'll be invited to come to it at a certain time when it's up and running. A couple things I want to tell you about. The Vertical Challenge is a brand new fundraising event that Jiminy Peak and Stride are jointly going to do this year. It's a 100,000-foot vertical challenge, and we're going to invite people to come and ski 87 runs in one day.
Rich and Heather and I.
It's a marathon, not a race, or a team event. And the teams can get together and you can do 25 runs and then somebody else does 25 and somebody does 35.
Skiers,
What?
100 instructors.
Do one team? So it's a very unique event because there's very few people that do it. There's only 2 other people, areas that have done it. Tyler thought it was a really cool idea to engage people because it's different and new, and it's going to be held on February 29th. So it'll be leap year, leap into the 100,000 vertical foot challenge. So you'll hear more about that. I'm gonna skip ahead to the Wounded Warrior and just tell you a little. It's a 4-day weekend. You heard a little bit about it. There's the date. If you can that weekend, get that in your calendar now to work both those days. You'll be assigned to a warrior family or a family member, and you'll be able to be their primary, and the whole weekend you just spend with them, which Charlie talked about, and it was one of the coolest things ever. So get that in your calendar now if you want to do that. I'm going to go back and end with the Great Race. And I'm going to show you, just turn on the video. It's a longer video, but if you'd like to leave, you can. But it's a really good closing for the night that gives you a really good idea of what type of lessons we have. And if some of you want to leave, you can. But I also wanted to mention that we're going to, whoever wanted to join us afterwards, at the sports grill down the road, we're going to go get something to drink and eat.
Who had a great day today? Oh, come on. Who had a great day today? That's better.
Is there a light in the back?
Hello world, here's the song that we're singing.
Lord speech this year in 2013, but also I have to thank him for the first disease who's never either.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for being Bill.
I want to audience somewhere in the solar audience. There is someone who came all the way from his job, from his bakery, and more importantly, like I said, he came all the way from window to stay with me in his grace. That means, let the record show, I'm not the only one holding this in real life. I'm holding this. There's someone who started all this.